So let's create a new object. Basically, it's going to be a place where we'll spawn the image in. This will get hidden and we'll spawn the correct image into place. So we're going to right click in here. We're going to add an empty object. So an empty has nothing in it. Just before I forget, I'm going to change this back to the question mark. So this is it here, look, there it is. Literally nothing. It's totally empty. The only thing it has is a position. So I'm going to set the position pretty much the same as the other ones, which was 0, 2.5, and 0. Okay. So I'm going to name it result image, just so I know what it is. Make sure you're naming everything. These lowercase letters are starting to frustrate me. So make sure everything is named. Don't get yourself in that situation where you're like, I've got 20 things called game object. I have no idea which one is which. Cool. Right, so what we'll want to do now then is let's create something called a prefab. So let's make a new folder. Right click, create folder, prefab. There we are. And prefabs are essentially, it's short for prefabricated or prefabrication. So it's something that's already been made. This object has been created ahead of time. It's ready, it's sat there waiting. We can then spawn it in at any moment's notice. And simply all you've got to do is like select, let's say, this rock and just drag it into the folder. There we go. Grab the paper, drag it, put it in this folder, and the scissors as well. There we are. And what it's doing, you'll notice these have turned blue. And essentially all it does is create a kind of pre-made object of this specific object. If I was to delete the box collider from here and then go to the scissors, you'll notice it's deleted from here. This is now the master copy of that object. So I'll put that box collider back, obviously, otherwise we're going to have some problems. Let's just make sure. Scissors, yep, that's looking fine. So you'll notice it's back here, look, there we are. Box collider has been put back. Cancel. So as you can see, actually, that's a good example. I changed this box collider to here, and it says this action will lose the prefab connection. So this object is connected to this prefab. Are you sure you wish to do this? No, I don't want to do that. So anything I change on these three will change any of them in the scene. So this is really powerful. Obviously, I could have, let's say, a single bullet here, and I could change all manner of different features on it here, but it would change it on every single one of them in the scene. I could have one enemy here, I could spawn 50 of them into the scene, I could change one setting here and it would change all 50. Very, very powerful. So prefabs are a really big, really important part of Unity specifically. Cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into code here. We're going to go to the game controller and we're going to want a reference first to the those prefabs. So let's go rock. I'm just going to copy that line. Scissors. And paper. So we've got three objects, rock, paper, scissors, and we're also going to want a reference to that game object we made, this empty game object here, because we're essentially going to spawn these guys at this location. So public, and what we can do here is use the transform. So, and we'll just call it spawn point, just so it makes sense. And the transform is literally this here, look, it says transform. And all that will give us is the position, rotation, and scale of this result image. And obviously we can use that to take the position and spawn the object right there. We could take the rotation and spawn it in the right rotation, etc., etc. So public transform spawn object. Okay. And then we just want to come down into where we check the player. Then we check the opponent. If it's a draw, we enable. If we enable the restart, we let them restart the game if they want to. I'm going to put it right at the top. We're going to instantiate. So instantiate is a fancy word for spawn or create. You'll see here it says clones the object original and returns the clone. Okay, so let's instantiate the original thing we want to spawn. Is going to be rock, paper, or scissors. In this case, the opponent was rock. And if we put a comma, you can see it tells us what else we should put in here. We should put a transform for a parent. We can put the position in here. We can put all sorts. So this is the one I'm thinking we want. So we want to spawn this object at this position. And this position is the spawn point dot position. Cool. So the position of the transformable space cannot convert from vector3 to transform. That's absolutely fine. What's your problem? Okay. So essentially the problem is at the moment it is looking for this one where there's only two things, the object and the transform. But we actually want this one, which is the object, the position and the rotation. So we'll add one more thing. This is quaternion identity. A quaternion is a very high level mathematic rotation. It's different than angles, similar but not the same as angles. Identity is basically just keep your own rotation. I'm not worried about you understanding this one, just let that one happen. Okay. Okay, so this should spawn an object. Let's just put it in all three. So we'll put it in the draw, we'll put it in the win and the player. Make sure we change this to the right one. So here is scissors, here is paper, paper, save. Let's go back in, play. Let's see if that's worked. So I'll choose, it needs to be rock, doesn't it? Rock. Unassigned variables. We've got some variables missing in the game controller. So main camera, here we go, we need to put all these in. Rock, paper, scissors, and we need to know where the spawn point is. And of course it's called result image. I'm going to change that name so it's more obvious. Spawn point. Check that it's still in there. Spawn point. Okay, let's play. Rock. There we go. Oh god. Okay, so it's spawning the paper in, but hopefully you can see this scroll bar is getting smaller and smaller. It's spawning in hundreds of, going up towards thousands of papers. Slight problem. Let's stop that before it crashes. So the reason it's doing that is because it's in the update function. And update happens every single frame, no matter what. And obviously that means this is happening every single frame. So what we probably need to do is have a new bool that basically says, yeah, we're playing the game, or no, we've finished playing the game because the game's finished. We've either lost or won. So we should probably add that in.